Hey everybody, welcome to my channel, Ron Harris. Today I'm joined by Giles Tiger Thomas over in the UK as we are going to review the top stories in the bodybuilding world for 2023. What a year it was, Giles. What a year.
Yes, what a year it has been, actually. Been very interesting. Lots of interesting things happened this year, so let's get through it.
Let's get started. So these are in no particular order of importance or not even a timeline thing. Whatever popped in my head. The first one was Big Ramy skipping the Olympia. The only time I can think of where a defending Mr. Olympia has just sat out. Two-time Olympia, 20 and 21, he won it. I'm sorry, 20 and 21. 2022 lost to Hadi, but he was dropping down all the way to fifth place at the Olympia in 2022, which was, I'd say that's when the writing was on the wall. And then 3 months later, he resurfaced looking much, much better at the Arnold Classic because he had some physique issues going on at the Olympia. Looked a lot better at the Arnold, but still fourth place in the Arnold. And I think both of us are probably starting to think, what's going on with this guy? Is he going to retire? Then as the show got closer, we didn't see any update pictures, no videos. And I think I was already starting to wonder, is he not going to do the Olympia this year? And then a few weeks out at that Dubai Muscle Show, he confirmed it with a couple interviews with different media outlets, not doing the Olympia. First of all, were you surprised, Giles, when he said that?
No, I wasn't actually, because firstly, I want to address what he did at the Arnold Classic, because I remember we were talking about the stem cell therapy and how it doesn't work that quickly. And then he turned up at the Arnold, and so I was actually in shock at how good he looked compared to how he looked at the Olympia. Because Olympia, I mean, everything was starting to go, the quads, the calves, the triceps, the arms. I mean, everything was just starting. Every body part was affected. The lower lats were gone. Yeah. You know, it just didn't look like the same guy that won the Olympia the 2 years before. So I thought it was the start of the decline. And then the Arnold Classic this year, yeah. I was really, really impressed. I was really, really impressed with what he managed to do. So I don't know. I'm not indifferent to him not doing the Olympia, but it wasn't a shock that he was not going to do it. But I think it was probably a smart move, because if I was him, I'd just be focusing on business, doing stuff with Panatta and all these different things that he's doing. His supplement, Red Rex, is it? The supplement brand. I would just be concentrating on those. So there was no real benefit to doing the Olympia, because, I mean, would he made top 6? I don't know. It depends on how he looked. But I think he did need a break. I think he needed a break. And I think sitting at the Olympia was smart. I suppose it leaves the question now, what's next now? Because I saw a post, a physique update, and he looks good. Yeah. He looks good, kind of good off season. But I personally would like to see him do the Arnold this year. I think that would be a good move for him. I think that would be a smart move, because there's not a lot of huge names throwing their hat into the ring yet. I think it's Rafael Brandao and Samson Dowder, the two that I know of that are actually confirmed as of now. So I think Ramy could go in there and get a top 3, and I think that would keep his. Thing is, you got to think about the business things he's got going on, like the supplement brand and stuff like that. You got to kind of compete. So if he went and got a top 3, that's a win for him, because it's going to give good exposure to his supplement brand. Otherwise, it's this is where he needs to be the most visible.
Yeah, I disagree. People like when we disagree. They hate. Sometimes the comments like, "Oh, you guys just do is agree with each other." I would not want to see him in the Arnold, only because unless he wins the Arnold, to me, it still would seem like he's been taken down a couple notches from a 2-time Mr. Olympia. If he's going to come back, I would prefer to see him do it at the Olympia, looking the best we've seen him in a couple of years. If he could get his title back, that would be the story of the century.
Yeah.
But unless he wins the Arnold, I don't see that as a good move for him. And I don't think he necessarily needs to keep competing, because he is incredibly popular all around the world, but especially in the Arab-speaking world. He's, millions and millions of devoted, dedicated fans. The list is going to be coming out soon, so we'll see.
Yeah, but I think if he's serious about doing the supplement brand and he's all in on it, I think he needs to compete to get that going, because look at how many bodybuilders, retired or current, have their own supplement brands or signature lines that really kind of need to get off the ground. And I think if he carries on competing and gets top 3 at the Arnold Classic, that's going to help his supplement brand a lot. So I think he needs to think business now, put his business on head on, and really do it just to sort of promote the supplement brand. Otherwise, we've seen big names who've had their own supplement brands that have failed.
Oh,
I won't mention names. I don't want to throw them under the bus like that. But if you know your stuff, you know that who's tried them and failed them, who's failed. So I think if he I think he should do the Arnold, get a top 3, hopefully, and then and then really just go to town on working on that supplement brand, because that could be huge.
Yeah, we're going to find out soon. The list will be coming out very soon, maybe even by the time this comes out. The next topic I have is also related to the Arnold Classic. They raised their prize money at the 11th hour this year from $200,000 for first to $300,000, purely as a way to get some more big names in the show, because it was looking like a fairly lackluster lineup. And within 5 days of bumping the prize money from 200 to 300, Nick Walker joined in as part of the competition, as did Andrew Jacked. And the thing, if people know their history, the Arnold Classic traditionally for many years made sure that their prize money was significantly lower than the Mr. Olympia. And that was Arnold Schwarzenegger's respect for Joe Weider. That was the reason behind that. Joe's been gone now for well over a decade, I think, at this point. So I don't think they have that issue anymore. It's always going to be Joe Weider's Olympia, but it's changed ownership a couple times now since Joe's been gone. And I think they could eventually keep bumping it up if they really wanted to, if the money's there. But it really bolstered their show. It turned the lineup from nothing exciting within a few days. Now we were excited about the show.
I have no evidence to support this theory, this crazy theory, but I think Nick Walker was behind getting that money bumped up. Because after the show, I messaged Samson. I said, Nick Walker's just put an extra $100K in your pocket, mate. You should thank him. Seriously. No, I just for some reason, I think he was the one that actually was planning on doing it, but was said, bump up the prize money and then we'll talk. And I think either there was some sort of talks going on behind closed doors, or he just kind of hedged his bets and actually sort of, basically semi-prepped until he basically he knew they were going to bump up the prize money. I think he's the one behind it. I have, like I said, nothing to support this crazy theory. But I think that's what happened. And like I said, obviously Samson's the one that benefited. So yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I mean, I floated far more ridiculous theories than that. So I think that sounds fairly credible to me. Because he was a huge name. They wanted the top. The Arnold always wants all the top Olympia men in the show. That's their goal. Of course, it's very, very rare that they can get the reigning Mr. Olympia to do it, or even any of the top 5. It's tough because a lot of those guys, they're already qualified for the next year's Olympia. And some of them, they're so focused on only wanting that Olympia title, they'll just say, no, I don't want to do anything else. I just want to have here's my recovery phase, here's my off season, here's my prep for the Olympia, one and done. This is not everyone's like a Samson that can keep prepping.
Yeah, but look, but Nick Walker's glad he did do that, Arnold, because even though he didn't win, he didn't get to do the Olympia. So could imagine if he hadn't done the Arnold and then obviously tore his hamstring at Olympia, we wouldn't have seen him on stage at all last year. So I bet that's why I would say if you qualify, you get invited, to these big shows, then unless there's some serious issue, bloody do it.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I remember we were the one name that we all were hoping. We knew Hadi wasn't going to do it. Hadi's it's hard enough for Hadi to get to the USA once a year. I think twice would be pushing it. But we all were hoping Derek Lunsford would jump in, which didn't happen. He was
I forgot about that.
Even the $300,000 didn't entice him. On paper,
paid off for him, didn't it? Paid off.
Yeah, but I mean, he would have won that too on paper because he's beaten Samson before.
Technically, yeah, I suppose he could have. But then, would he have won the Olympia if he'd have been prepped? Because some bodybuilders, they like to just, like Ronnie always said, you can only really peak once a year.
Yeah.
But you get bodybuilders like Samson who just don't have a problem with continually competing. I mean, he's doing the Arnold Classic and the Arnold UK this year as well. Sorry, next year as well. So he's literally just off the back of the pre-show videos and pictures are already coming out, and he was only doing the Olympia a few weeks ago, it seems.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to wonder too that it could have affected his body trying to go through those 2 different preps and not having as much off-season time to improve. So it might have been the same result at the Olympia 2 years in a row, Hadi and Derek, had he done that. So
possibly.
We'll never know. Next big news item, men's physique finally got some weight limits because these guys were getting big. There is no doubt. If you go back to 10 years ago when men's physique first became a division in the NPC and the IPP Pro League, The physiques were much, much smaller, more attainable looking. Even in the literature that they put out online, the NPC and IFBB said we're looking for the ultimate beach body. It shouldn't be overly developed, overly this or that. And of course, as often is the case with any division, it starts off with certain standards, and then people get bigger and more ripped, and it just becomes, it transforms. And people are starting to notice how big these guys were getting. Bodybuilder size. They were looking as big as some of the classic guys, sometimes bigger than some of the classic guys. Monstrous shoulders, backs, arms, veins, looking all, it wasn't an attainable look. So not only did that, the limits won't even take effect until January, so they weren't in effect at all for the 2023 season. But I think we did see at the Olympia, the Mr. Olympia, the Men's Physique Olympia, that they were starting to turn back that standard of freakish size, not so much condition. They still want condition, but Ryan Terry, congratulations to him. Not as big as like an Aaron Banks or a few of the other guys, but it was a beautiful physique, and I don't know if it's attainable. I don't know how many people in the world could ever look like that, but it's more attainable. It's not so cartoonish. Yeah, I mean, we were both talking about how men's physique was evolving and not in a good way for quite a while.
Oh, it's one of my biggest pet peeves in the industry about how they've actually developed to the point where they just look like bodybuilders with no legs. And it really bugged me. In fact, there was a post the other day actually about I think she was an Italian guy that won a couple of pro shows and everything last year. And it was posting his off-season update. And the guy's absolutely freaking massive. And I remember seeing the pictures of when he was on stage. And I just remember saying, I put it on the group chat and saying, like, this isn't men's physique. The guy's huge. I mean, he's got proper thickness and density. It's one of my pet peeves when I see doing live stream commentary or something at one of the events. And then I see these massive guys, I just think, just stop trying to. And I like to see them get marked down. I like to see them not win, because when they win, I think it sends out the wrong message.
Right.
It's like seeing like bikini girls that weigh like 40 kilos. Do you know what I mean? It's not the right message they should be sending out. So these guys should not be winning. They need to get beat by. Like, I think Ryan Terry, I've always thought he was like the perfect embodiment of Buendia, at his best. I think these guys were the best kind of examples of men's physique. But when they get too big like that, I just think, oh, come on, just go hammer your legs for a year and go do classic or open bodybuilding, because I think it's just I find it really weak, because it's not the criteria. It's about, the chest and the abs and the V-taper and all that. But when they just come on and they're just massive and they're just basically just big, bulky bodybuilders, and that just really annoys me. And especially when they're not in condition as well. Because I think you can't even be bothered. You just want to, you've got no attention to aesthetics. You just get as big as possible and you're not even bringing condition. Get off.
So not only did they're going to have weights, but I don't know what the weights exactly are, but Tyler Mannion in an Instagram video post did specify they're going to be lighter for their height than classic physique weights. So
it should be.
Yes. So clear, definite delineation. Men's physique is smaller, less muscle mass than classic. Then there's classic, and then classic obviously would be much smaller than open bodybuilding. So good. Thank God. I think it was a great, great move.
100%.
Next news item, the point system, which wasn't around for that long. I don't think it was around for more than 3 or 4 years, if memory serves.
Hang on. I can't. Honestly, I can't remember.
Okay.
I can't recall that. I'd have to go and check that.
It wasn't long. It wasn't too long, but they got rid of it after the 2022 Olympia, where we had over 400 athletes on stage, and we sort of blamed, the show ran into 1, 2 in the morning, and athletes were cramped backstage and no room, and they were starving, and God, it was like, like they were crossing the Atlantic, being smuggled or something. But finally, the point system was eliminated, and then we stepped back and realized, wait a minute, there was only 2 people, the top 2 point leaders in every division were getting to the Olympia on points. There's 10 divisions. That's only 20 people. 20 out of 420 or whatever it was, wasn't breaking the bank. It wasn't making that massive difference in why we had so many people at the Olympia. So now I'm wondering, I've heard rumors that they're going to reinstate the point system, but so far I've seen nothing official. Have you?
No, I'd like to see it come back. I would. Yeah. I would. Yeah, I think we have to resign ourselves to the fact that bikini and classic are always going to have at least 40. And I think with the amount of because I think one of the main reasons, I'll be straight with you, one of the main reasons is because the sanction fees for promoters to put on classic or classic or men's physique or bikini. It's a lot less than for open. So I mean, let's say how many was at the Olympia this year in the open? Was it 16?
Oh, 16 or 17. It would drop by. Yeah, we lost like 6 people leading into the show.
Yeah, it was like 30 the year before.
Yeah, 32. So
yeah. I think it's no one. I mean, even if they do qualify, no one's forcing these guys to compete. They don't have to do the Olympia. So if they qualify for the Olympia and they think realistically, I'm not going to make top 15, they don't have to do it. I mean, no one would probably really notice if some of these guys didn't do it. But I quite like the point system because I'm trying to think there would have been, like, say, Tim Buddersheim probably would have got to the Olympia if there'd have been points. Yeah. I mean, I see arguments for both ways. Some people are saying now you should win multiple pro shows to even qualify, and others are people like myself, are saying I think we should bring the point system back. So I think these popular classes, I think unless they say to promoters you could only to all the promoters say, look, there's only 20 shows that you could put on, for example, around the world for classic. Who wants them first? I don't know. It's tricky. It's very, very tricky. I think you're going to run into problems either way. But personally, I quite like the point system. I'd like to see it come back.
Yeah, because we saw, especially with a lot of those European shows, there were a few guys. Buddersheim is just one of them who was consistently placing top 5 show after show after show. Yep. But in some cases, the same guy like Nathan was winning 2 shows. When you have somebody who keeps, like a Samson, someone who just keeps winning show, it's, I hate to use this phrase, they're taking away the opportunity for someone else to go to the Olympia, which, then you could say, well, only the best should be at the Olympia anyway. So what's the problem? But yeah, someone like a Buddersheim, he really he earned his way to that Olympia stage legitimately, but he couldn't do it because it was a point system to win a show.
Personally, I don't know. I quite like the idea of if somebody like Samson is already qualified by coming third at the Olympia, then winning Romania, then maybe the second place guy, if he's already qualified, so that would have been Krizo. So that would mean, but then if you allow Krizo to qualify because Samson was already qualified, like in Prague, then it means that you're taking away the opportunity for that say Krizo to go do a show in Spain or in Europe or in America, which then the promoter would benefit by having such a big name. So, like I said, I unfortunately I'm not going to cop out here, but I do see both sides on this one.
Yeah, I mean, the point system is really great for promoters, especially promoters of open bodybuilding, because that's going to force more of the top people to keep competing. If they miss the win, I say without the point system, I think, where would they be better off? Because the point system, they're going to keep doing shows. But if there's no point system, they still have to keep doing shows to try to win a show. So either way, you guys get stuck competing. So I guess the promoters always win.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I agree with you. I would like to see the point system come back. I didn't like it at first because it involves mathematics, which I don't like. But then I realized it's kind of exciting because the sport's not that exciting. But then you can say, okay, well, Andrea Muzzi just took 3rd place. And then you check the leaderboard. Okay, he's got 11 points, but Tim Buddersheim's got 12 points. And there's 3 more shows left. It did add another element of excitement to everything. I think.
Yeah, but then the thing is, not every really good bodybuilder should be at the Olympia, because you're going to get guys looking their best ever aren't going to make top 15.
Yeah,
that are going to be on stage for a total of probably 2 minutes.
Well, I'm going to get. I'm fully ready for the hate on this, but divisions where we have huge numbers, 50, 60 people, like bikini. Classic is always huge.
I wasn't judging that.
I wonder if they all got there on a win, so they all earned their way there legitimately. But a lot of them are small shows. There was not tremendous level of competition. I wonder, do these people, in their hearts of hearts, the ones who will be tied for 16th place with 40, 50 other guys or girls, do they really think I'm good enough to be top 15? Do they look at all the names? Or do they just say, I want to be on the Olympia stage because that's been my dream. And it would be awesome to make a top 10, top 15, but I'd still rather go there and be on that stage and not do well than to say I never got to compete in the Olympia.
You've got to be in it to win it. And there's something about being an Olympia competitor that does when all said and done, that separates you from other athletes. You know, like even back in the 90s, those guys that weren't placing top 10 or top 15 at the Olympia, there's something that separates them from all these other pros that just because they got to the Olympia. You know, and plus you get these stories like Ronnie Coleman that won the World Championships and qualified for the Olympia the following year. You know, that was on stage at the Olympia, and it's like for him, like he said to me, he said, Giles, he said that was my most memorable, significant Olympia, and it was like his first one when he didn't even get a call out.
Yeah.
He said, because it was my first. He said, a year before I was backstage asking Lee Haney to have a picture with me because I was doing security at the 91 Olympics, and 1 year later I'm on stage at the Olympia. So it's kind of stories like that that obviously means a lot to the athletes.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, Giles, if you had been able to turn pro, and by some crazy chance,
still time.
I know there's masters. You're not even 50 yet. But if you had been able to get to the Olympia stage, knowing you had no chance of being top 10, me personally, I would do it. Would you?
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, that's not even up for discussion. The thing is, you never know. I mean, remember guys like Frank Hillebrand?
Yeah.
When he was 8th at the 1990 Olympia. I mean, that guy probably thought, I'm going to, you know, because obviously they had the drug test that year, and like Gary Stridham and Barry DeMay all got disqualified and stuff. I mean, there's a guy that can say then he was at one point top 10 in the world. I mean, I can't think of any other pro shows he did any real damage in. You know, Mauro Sani, you know, the in 93, you know, he did the Olympia and stuff like that. And I think for me, that's like, how many 90s guys that did random pro shows, not the Olympia, do you remember? Because I struggle with the Olympia guys, you know, even if they, and plus, you know, sometimes you can get a good placing as well. So it's that's the thing with bodybuilding. It's it can be very, very unpredictable. Yeah. So I think if you're gonna do the Olympia, you know, plus you get, I mean, what about the year when, like, the classic, when Urs came on the scene and he went straight into like 3rd place?
Yeah.
You know, he was a complete unknown. He could have thought, well, I'm just going here, I'm just my Olympia, I've qualified, so I just want to do it. You know, and then boom, like Ramondino, like, you know, going and get like, you know, straight in at the top. You know, you gotta really test yourself. And if you don't get on stage at the Olympia after you've qualified, then I think you're absolutely nuts.
Yeah, and you know, like I said, it would be a matter of pride. I think just say, look at Instagram. I see a lot of competitors in various divisions in their bio. It'll say Olympian or 2-time Olympian or 3-time Olympian. And a lot of times, like, who is this? I've never heard of this name in my life.
Yeah.
But you know what? God bless them. They stood on that Olympia stage and they were up there with the best in the world, and no one can ever take that away from them.
Do you know that Texas promoter, Freddie Nadeau?
Yeah.
Like, he's done the Olympia, and that's what he puts as his accolade. I've done the Olympia twice. Like, and that is like, wow, he's not just a promoter. He was a men's physique, and there's a picture of him on stage at the Olympia, and it adds prestige, and obviously helps what he's doing with the promoting as well. So it's not just all about getting a good placing and winning, or, you know, or like I said, or getting a good placing. It's sometimes about what it represents and what it means. So yeah, I think it's do it.
Fair enough. Next big news item was Classic Physique got their 3rd and what I believe will be their final bump in the weight caps. So when Classic came out in 2016, it had certain weights for your height. And then the very next year, they added 5 pounds. And it was only a year or two later, they added another 5 pounds, and it was uniform. So the way it goes is it's a height. If you're between, they use American heights, 5'7" and 5'8", it's one weight, 5'8", 5'9", and so on. So if you're between a certain inches in height, you have to make that particular weight. And I think this last increase was sort of inspired by the fact that the shorter guys didn't have as much weight increase proportionally as the taller guys. Somebody did some math, somebody did some crazy mathematical equations and figured out that the shorter guys were not being treated fairly by the way the weights were established. So everybody got a little weight, but the shorter guys got more weight. Like Bumstead only got another 2 pounds or something for his position.
Yeah, it was like Wesley Vistas. He said, I've got 900 grams, which is like 2 pounds. He said, but that's quite a lot. And I was like, really? And then he turned up at the Olympia and he looks so much bigger. And I'm thinking, how is that even possible? But it's like 2 pounds, like less than 1 kilo.
Ruffin and Breon both got 7 pounds because they must be the same height. They got 7 pounds. So for Wesley and Bumstead, 2 pounds on a guy who's 6'2"
doesn't make sense.
Versus 7 pounds on a guy who's 5'6", huge difference. I don't know how much different they actually looked. I think they looked a little fuller. Ruffin always looks great to me, but I don't know how much bigger he looks.
That makes no sense to me.
Yeah. Looking at the pictures and videos, did you see it benefit anyone in particular at the Classic Olympia? Classic V?
No, I didn't really see the point of adding I thought, why do they keep adding weight? I didn't really see the point of it.
Yeah.
But and I didn't really understand how short guys can have more to gain than the taller guys, because a taller guy has a bigger frame. It's like it just stands to reason, you know. So the whole thing just made absolutely no sense to me, and I didn't really do any research into why or how it worked, because I simply didn't agree with it. I just certainly didn't understand it.
So this is unconfirmed. There's a lot of rumors and speculation were swirling around that there were a couple guys who were having such a hard time, like Ramondino was having a hard time making weight.
Yeah.
Who else was really having a hard time? Breon was going to leave. He was going to go to 212.
Yeah.
So to keep a couple of the big names, I don't think they would make a whole policy to benefit just two athletes. Because
yeah, but hang on. Remember when they changed the 202 to 212 because Flex Loose used to struggle?
That's right.
It did. No, seriously, these things come at a very, very coincidental time. Maybe they're the ones that are like complaining or sort of saying to the pro league, like, I'm really struggling. And then they're probably thinking, well, there's probably other guys that are struggling as well.
Sure.
And Breon, we don't want to lose Breon and Ramondino. So let's give them another £5. Let's see how they look. Let's see how they do. And if they start to lose their lines or whatever, then we'll rein it in. But personally, I think just keep it as it was.
Yeah, well, it's too late. Sorry, the genie's out of the bottle now. Can't put it back. Yeah. But yeah, I didn't see a tremendous difference in really anybody. They all look great anyway. What's funny is 2 days ago, my son sends me a picture of Ramondino from Instagram. He goes, "This guy's got the ideal physique." I said, all this time I've been covering Classic, you never heard me mention Ramondino? Ramon? I think didn't we even have him on the cover of MD at one point? I think we did. No, we never gave him a cover. But anyway, let's move on to Masters Olympia, because I'm old and I love to talk about Masters bodybuilding. So that show was held 10 times between 1994 and 2012. That was only for men's bodybuilding, men's open bodybuilding. They didn't have any weight divisions or anything like that. Jake Wood and Alina Poplar brought it back in 2023 with all the divisions. So everybody was there. It was packed. It was over in Cluj. Is that what the place is called?
Yep, Cluj, Romania.
Cluj, Romania. And these were the winners. We had Kamal Elgarni, former, did he win the 212 twice?
Once in 2019.
Arnold Classic and 212 champ, Olympia champ. Kamal Elgarni. The 212 Olympia went to Hidetaka Yamagishi. Classic Physique, Alex Cambronero. Masters Physique, Arya Safai. Some of these names I'm really not familiar with. Masters Ms. Olympia was Roshana Boswell. Women's Physique, Ivy Rain. Fitness, Minna Pajulati from Finland. Figure,
Jessica.
Of course, Jessica Reyes-Padilla, of course. Bikini, Jessica Wilson. Masters, Nerilda Garcia Stray. That's all the divisions. But I didn't go. And I thought at one point you were maybe going to go to that, weren't you?
Yeah, I wasn't very well. I had to pull out a week before. I was really not good. So I was very, very upset because I wanted to do the live stream with Jay Cutler.
Yeah. So,
but it was a good show, and I was really glad that they. I mean, that was a really bold move. They didn't do wheelchair. That's the only pro category they didn't do. But there's 11 pro categories, and they did 10. And I think it's going to take because they're going to do it every 2 years. And obviously now they're bringing in more Masters amateur shows to bring in more talent and give obviously bigger opportunities for those Masters competitors. It gives them a stepping stone, and it gives them the same opportunities that the open guys do and the 212 guys do in the actual Mr. Olympia and all that. So I think it's a great idea. I think it'll take at least 2 or 3, 4, 5, 6 years to really build this, and then I think they can really, really build this event into something, absolutely huge. Because I can't imagine that the first year it was a good show. It was a good show, but I think it's going to take a few more, maybe 1 or 2 more Masters Olympias to really get momentum going on this one.
So if that's the case, and I agree with that, why wouldn't you have it every year? Because if you're only going to have it every other year, now it's going to take twice as long to build it up.
Yeah, but they can give more pro cards out in those 2 years and give a chance to build it. And maybe it was costly as well. So maybe they don't want to sort of commit to every year. Maybe the first couple will be every couple of years, and then maybe they'll change it to every 1 year. I don't know. I haven't spoke to Jake, but because the thing is, they a lot of it kind of these changes actually happen as it goes along. It's like I spoke to Jake at the Romania last year, and he was saying that they were looking at the Mandalay or the MGM Grand for the Olympia venue, and now they've gone with this World Resort place instead. So they kind of it develops as time goes on. So maybe they're saying it'll be every 2 years, but maybe they'll look at doing it every year. I don't know, and who knows? Maybe they might even move it from Romania. Maybe would it be better in America?
I mean, when you went to it when it was in Miami, right? Years ago?
Yeah, 2012. Yeah.
Yeah. And another thing people would say is, why don't they just add it on the Olympia weekend? But no.
Oh,
We have enough going on at the Olympia weekend.
No, there's too much. That'd be way too much. And the thing is, then you get guys like, I don't know, maybe like Jessica Reyes-Padilla would be doing the Olympia and the Masters Olympia. Do you know what I mean? So it wouldn't work. I think keeping it separate is best. And I think we certainly don't need to add any more categories to the Olympia weekend. I think Dan and his team would have a breakdown.
Final note on that is I think myself and a lot of others are probably secretly hoping that some big names, we thought, like we saw Jay Cutler was getting in shape he said it was for his 50th birthday, but we're like, wow, his 50th birthday is right around the same time as the Olympia. We thought he was going to do it maybe. Kevin Leveroni's always like a name that maybe Kevin will make another comeback. There were big names that we were kind of secretly hoping we'd see up there that, these people they've moved on. They're doing many other things with their life, and there's no, unless you're giving them a couple $1 million, they ain't coming back for the Masters Olympia.
I mean, most comebacks are usually, if it's been more than say 5 years, is usually a bit of a mistake. But we've seen guys come back and look really good, like Lou Ferrigno in '92. The last two we competed was '75. We had Boyer Coe, who competed in '94. He hadn't competed since the '80s, early '80s, late '70s.
Yeah.
You had Vince Taylor come back in 2006 when he did the Australian. He looked really, really good. And then you got Gary Stridham. He did the Colorado show. Was it 2006 or 2007?
Yep, that's right.
He looked really, really good. But usually when they come back, you're just like they're barely recognizable. So I think I think it worked out well. I think I'm glad Kamal did the Open as well, because I pushed him into that. I said, please do the Open. I said, you're wasting your time in the 212 because it's just too easy a win for you. No disrespect, but it's too easy a win. Go and do the Open. I said, and really challenge yourself. And then he came back to me a few weeks later and he says, yeah, I'm going to do it. And I said, well, you'll win that. And I've always said, him and Sammy Al-Haddad, I've always told them to do shows that they'll win, and they always end up winning it. So a bit of a lucky charm for them, I think.
They're always after me, Lucky Charms. Anyway.
Tiger's foot.
Did you
a lucky tiger's foot?
Do you even get that reference, Giles? They're always after me, Lucky Charms.
Is it a cereal thing?
Yes, it's Lucky Charms cereal. It's a little leprechaun.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Did you get my Lucky Rabbit's Foot reference?
Yeah, we have Rabbit's Foot is like a universal thing.
Okay. Well, I said Tiger's Foot, so yeah.
Tiger's Foot. Okay.
I love it when people explain jokes. That really adds to the humor.
I have to be careful because I'm older, and if I'm using like pop culture references from the 70s or 80s, a 25-year-old, I know they're not going to know what the hell I'm talking about.
Yeah, like if you say to me, we're going to need a bigger boat.
Yeah, that's Jaws. Everybody knows that.
There you go. You get it, because you were 30 years old when it came out.
Yeah, 30. I saw Jaws in a drive-in movie theater, sitting on top of my mother's station wagon when I was 5 years old.
Did you?
Yeah. Next news item: Ian Valliere. I hate to always refer to him as the brother-in-law of Chris Bumstead. It's awful, but Chris Bumstead's like superstar. But Ian did very, very well as a competitor himself. He won a bunch of shows. What is he? Runner-up at the Arnold Classic to Nick Walker. That was. He won the Toronto Pro, the Tampa Pro, the New York Pro, the Texas Pro. He had a good amount of pro wins. And then shortly after winning the Toronto Pro this year, he announced at 32 years old, thanks for the memories, guys, but I'm hanging it up, which it's very rare to see someone do that unless something is forcing them to, an injury, a health condition, a big change in their life or something. But he just decided, I've done this. I've done it at a high level. I accomplished what I set out to, and now I'm just tired of being a bodybuilder. It was while he would have been starting prep for the Olympia, which he was qualified for, that he announced it, and people were just dumbfounded, like, how could you retire now? Why not do the Olympia? And he said, I've been 7th place in the Olympia twice, and I'm not excited about doing the Olympia. And you can't prep for the Mr. Olympia, the toughest show in the world, where everyone's out for your head, if you're like, Olympia, So I did a nice interview with him. He was explained it all, and I'm happy for the guy. And I love seeing someone go out on their own terms rather than being forced out. Agreed?
I have a feeling he's going to pull an Oksana.
No, maybe.
32. I'm telling you, you'll see the likes and views going down. I think maybe he'll have a child with Melissa, and that'll get going, and he'll get into the routine. And I reckon another year or two, I reckon he's going to be itching to get back up there. I think, but you know what? I respect him for doing what he's done now, because that's when he was a top name, very, very extremely popular. Whenever I had him on Global, he was always pulling good views, and and he's very very well liked. But I think that'll I don't know, unless he really gets into something that is going to really take up all his energies, and. I think there's a high possibility. I reckon another year or two. I reckon he'll just come back. I think because he's still looking in very, very good shape as well. So he's not really downsizing that much. It's not like he's stopped training and come off social media and he's off running some bloody. He's not driving trucks or something. He hasn't completely left the sport.
Well,
he's still very attached to it.
He literally has been running because he was a track athlete in years past. Yeah. He's been trying to do. That's what he said. He said, "I want to try to get this time back on the 100-meter or whatever it was. I don't know." But like I said, he would have to lose a lot of weight to be that fast again, or even close to it. I don't think he's going to be entering any race trying to qualify for the Olympics or anything like that. Mm-hmm. So if he's a very competitive person, what's going to be his outlet for that competitiveness?
Well, exactly. Maybe he goes and achieves his goal with the 100-meter thing, and then after a year he's at a show or he's watching Chris up on stage at the Olympia and he starts getting people asking him, when are you coming back here? And you still look great. And then maybe he'll go, oh, Melissa, what do you think? And go on then if you want to do it, But and also you don't know really behind the scenes if there was another reason. Maybe there was a health issue. Maybe there was some shoulder problems or something like that, or he had hip problems or something he was really struggling to work around that he kept quiet. You don't know whether there's some other reason that might fix itself in a couple of years. Or he might be like a Justin Compton who just basically you see it shows looking absolutely huge, but has no intention of competing again, because Justin Compton was 2016 last time he competed.
Yeah, it's been a while.
And I thought he was going to take a couple of years out and come back because, I saw pictures on the forum like a year or two ago and he's with some of his athletes and coaches and he's looking absolutely huge. And you just think, he's coming back. And, as of yet, still no. But you've got guys like Sasan Harati from the UK. He's coming back, apparently.
Good.
2017 was the last time he competed. Or was it 2018? It was 2018 when he got second in Canada.
Did he ever retire? I never heard that he retired.
Well, he said he was. Well, he certainly was done with competing. He didn't compete. He hasn't. He's going to compete next year. What's that? 5-6 years away?
Yeah, wow.
So,
gone.
I think the sign is usually if they have some serious health issue, some serious injury, or you see pictures of them and they've literally completely stopped training.
Wow. Yeah. But even if they do, they could always, like I said, unless their body's shot, they can always come back. These are that's the beauty of bodybuilding. So
injuries or whatever. Like Ronnie and Dorian probably would have carried on for another 2 or 3 years at least if injuries and the sort of body giving up and being the obstacle, they would have probably just carried on going because they loved it. Do you know what I mean? So, although Dorian said he was starting to get it, he said the last year, it felt like a job and he was really struggling at like walking around at 300 pounds. It's like some of these guys, they feel like they've ticked that box and that's that. But then you get guys like Kevin Averone who came back in 2016, Flex Wheeler that came back in 2017, and they do give it one more go. I just hope if they do, they come back and they're really, really competitive because to see them come back and they just look shit, that's that we don't want that for our greats.
Yeah, I agree. That's why there have been some Masters Olympias in the past where these guys were just a shadow of their former selves. I was like, I want to remember them the way they used to look, not like this.
Yeah, like Darren Charles at the Masters Olympia, he didn't place. He was like 16th, and his legs had gone, and and other parts of his body parts. But then again, in one way, you're kind of happy to see them back up there. But these are guys that were top 10 Olympia guys, that sort of coming back, and they're not even placing top 15, and in these kinds of shows,
Father time wins in the end every single time. All right.
Yeah. Well, Ronnie said he wanted to do shows, but just not the Olympia. He wanted to do smaller shows. didn't he, for years after? Because I mean, Ronnie was even back in 2016 when I was working with him at Body Power. He was still huge, still a unit. He was still massive. So obviously they keep training. They keep living the lifestyle. And cruising on a bit of TRT or whatever, and and eating clean and stuff. They can usually maintain that. It always gives them the opportunity to jump back in then if they ever want to. In certain cases, some obviously not.
Let's move on to what might have been the biggest story of the year. Nick Walker tearing his hamstring. It was like 9 days out from the Olympia. It was very close to the Olympia. He was looking phenomenal. He had been third place the year before, third place at the Arnold. Of course, a lot of people were saying he could have won the Olympia. And, some people said after the Olympia had happened, they said, "Oh, Nick would have won." I don't know if he would have won, but
no, he wouldn't have won. He was second at the Arnold.
He was second at the Arnold, right? You're right. Yeah. Sorry. So Jack was third, but he was looking great. And to suffer an injury that close to the biggest show of the year, my heart broke for the kid. Whether you love his physique or hate his physique, he is through and through a bodybuilder at heart. He lives, breathes, eats, sleeps, and shits bodybuilding. 100% dedication. And, like I said, he might not be your cup of tea physique-wise, but the kid trains his ass off. You could see the diet. He diets like the old school guy. His face gets all sucked in and everything. I was very upset. He was at the show. We did an interview and everything. And he was already looking toward the next Olympia. But yeah, I can't recall a time when somebody got hurt that close to the Olympia. Can you? And didn't do the Olympia. I remember.
Didn't do the Olympia. We obviously got like Dorian with the bicep and the tricep, but he just powered on through. But I mean, I think he'd done it. When did he do it though? When did he actually tear it?
So the Olympia he would have been on stage on a Friday, I believe the Wednesday or the Thursday prior to that. And he explained in the interview, he wasn't training legs. He was training chest, doing some dumbbell presses, and he stood up and the hamstring just went pop. And it wasn't a full tear. He did not require surgery. He finally got an MRI later on. But you saw he had a lot of body work done, and the whole leg was just bruised and awful looking and filled with fluid. It would have looked horrific, even with the fake tan on. So he didn't have a choice.
He'd have put the tan on, and what would have happened? The leg would have just held water.
Yeah.
It would have looked watery. He wouldn't be able to flex it in his radial bicep. He wouldn't be able to, sit into the pose and actually flex the hamstring. So it probably would have knocked him down 6th, 7th, 8th, or whatever. So, and he probably would have been limping on stage. It's like I felt his pain when he actually posted that video, and you could see he looked like when he knew he had to accept that he really, really there was no chance he was going to make it on stage. I felt really, really bad for him. Oh, I'll tell you, Kamal tore his calf.
Oh, geez, recently?
No, in 2018 when he got third.
That's right.
Flex Lewis was first, Derek Lunsford was second, and Kamal was third. And if you remember, that was his first Olympia. Obviously, after he won the Arnold Classic back in March. And if you look at his left or right calf, one of the calves, it's really smooth.
Wow.
Like, it's really smooth. And it's funny because I've checked his calf afterwards because I went to see him. And I said, "How's your calf now, mate?" And he says, "Oh, yeah, it's fine. There's no shortening. There's nothing torn or anything." He said, "There's no disfigurement. The muscle isn't shorter." But he went on stage with a torn calf, and he was really, really struggling in his hotel room. And Chris Aceto coming around and stressing and trying to put ice on it, and he was trying to pose and stuff. But it was just causing, because a lot of them like with Brandon Curry when he at his food point didn't want to take any painkillers because it makes you hold water and all that. And so I imagine that happening right at the last minute for Nick Walker. That must have been so stressful and so devastating. Yeah. Especially after he really wanted to redeem himself after really not technically, he did lose the Arnold after winning it the year before. Yeah. So I suppose he was I felt bad for him. But he'll be back, and obviously it wasn't. And so he's saying there's no disfigurement to the muscle or anything. It looks okay now.
No, he guest posed. He just did a big.
Of course, yeah, of course, yeah.
He's good. So
yeah, good.
The question, and this is a whole other subject, but real quickly, should he have to qualify? If you're running the Olympia, it's up to you, Giles. You're the only one who has to make the decision. It's not a committee. Should he have to qualify, or if he asked you for a special invitation, would you give it to him?
No, he needs to qualify.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, the promoters are going to be going, please don't give him the special invite because they want him in the show.
Of course.
So if he went and did something like Texas or Tampa or New York Pro or whatever, the thing is he will have been out then for over, he wouldn't have competed since the Arnold Classic in 23.
23, yeah.
23. So I think do a nice mid-season show. Don't make it a super easy one. Don't make it a super hard one. Just go and get your qualification. And then go and jump on stage at Olympia, and then really, really kind of because it's a good storyline as well, and people will be behind him. Yeah. Like when Samson thing happened in Korea and everything, everyone kind of got behind him then for the next one because they like people like a sort of it's a hard luck story that they can then turn around and it builds resilience, and it's kind of like a bit of a Rocky story then, and I think it's you're rooting for him then, really, everyone is.
Yeah. So final story. Before we get into those we lost, it was a dramatic Olympia weekend. It would be the final contest I ever covered for muscular development. So it was exciting. It was significant in that aspect, but we saw the people who retained their titles, the defending champions who kept their titles were Chris Bumstead, Andrea Shaw in women in the Ms. Olympia, Francel Matos in wellness, and Cindy Gillen in figure. Every other division, the title changed hands. Derek Lunsford became your new Olympia. He beat Hottie. Keon Pearson beat Sean Clarita. Jennifer Dory beat who was the reigning bikini champ? Maureen Blanquisco.
Maureen.
Sarah Villegas got her title back from Natalia in physique. Poland's Karol Miluski in wheelchair because Harold Kelly had won that thing several times. And finally, Ryan Terry, after it was his 5th, 8th, 7th Olympia, it was a lot.
Something like that, yeah. Well, 2015, he hit the scene.
Oh, that's not final. Yeah, so he took the title away from the reigning champ Erin Banks, and Missy Truscott, the reigning fitness champ, tore her ACL on stage. It was awful, and obviously she couldn't even finish her routine. And 10-time Arnold champ, 5-time Olympia champ Oksana Grishina became the 6th-time fitness Olympia champ. So it was a very, very tumultuous weekend in terms of titles changing hands, which is great. I think it's exciting.
Yeah, no, completely. Well, I mean, there was a few ones where I thought I didn't think Natalia was going to get beat. Coelho. I actually with the Olympia, I thought, okay, well, this could go to either Derek or Hattie. I mean, both had their strengths and weaknesses, but I mean, it's always exciting when the Olympia title changes hands. I mean, you think about the Olympia from 1979 to 84; they had a different Mr. Olympia every single year. Yeah. Frank Zane, Arnold, Franco, Chris Dickerson, Samir Banu, Lee Haney. I mean, that's pretty cool. Because like I said, it keeps it more exciting, keeps it more open. And I do believe then that the judges are really, really judging upon what they see, not upon whether he's Mr. or she's the Olympic champion or whatever. I really like that, But there was a lot of exciting storylines at this Olympia. I watched the live stream, absolutely going crazy. I loved every minute. And it was absolutely amazing.
We saw, in the Mr. Olympia, it should be known, we've had a lot of Olympia champions. So 2017, Phil Heath, 2018, Elaine Shawn Roden, 2019, Brandon Curry, 2021, Rami, 22 Hottie, 23 Derek. So very similar. It's exciting because as much as we loved Ronnie and Lee Haney and Dorian, those people who did it year after year after year, it does get kind of boring and repetitive. Same guy every year. So
I mean, the fans have turned on. I think the fans turned on mostly Jay Cutler. And then he did 2009 and won them all back. So as I said, it just shows you how fickle people are. Also, I mean, Phil Heath, after 3 or 4, people hated him. I mean, it wasn't really his fault because he was just so far ahead of everyone, but he was making it look too easy because he was so freaking good. And Dorian, I mean, I used to root against Dorian. I used to be like, I want Sean Ray or Kevin Navarone to win one because I just wanted to see somebody different,
Yeah, no, I agree. So let's wrap it up with those in the industry that we lost this year. I tried to do this sort of chronologically in terms of who passed away first. Gustavo Badel, originally from Venezuela, later moved to Puerto Rico, which is why he was called the freaking Rican. This guy was 3rd place at the 2004 and 2005 Mr. Olympia contests. He beat Ronnie Coleman and Jay Cutler in the challenge round in 2005, and he passed away earlier this year of a stroke at only 50 years old.
50.
Yeah. Next up, Mike Quinn, who was from right my area, from Brockton, Mass. Didn't do a ton of IFBB Pro League shows. He started off in AAU, NABA, IFBB Pro League, and did that WBF, Vince McMahon organization for a couple of while. He was very well known for more so his bad boy reputation. He was always getting into like fights with people. He was very brash, and he's from a tough neighborhood, but crazy arms, very strong guy, especially in things like the bench press. So he was 61.
I liked his comeback in '94 at the '94 Night of Champions. That was impressive.
Yeah, fifth place.
Yeah, it was amazing. That was a really tough year, that one, and his condition was incredible. Really, really good.
Yeah, Mike Quinn. Probably the saddest one of the year, just because he was so young. Joe Lindner. He was a social media star known as Joe Stetics, originally from Germany. I think he was living in Thailand at the end. 30 years old, and he had a fatal aneurysm in late June. I never knew the guy, but I watched a lot of his videos. He had a great personality, very positive. He encouraged a lot of other athletes, great sense of humor. And he was known for being, like a Munzer type of striations and splinters. And not just, he didn't compete. He looked like that all the time. He had some weird condition. I can't remember the name of it, but it's sort of like your muscles involuntarily start spasming and contracting. But he could do it on command with his chest. He would sit there and they would just be like dancing all over the place.
Good party trick, that.
Yeah. Who could do that?
I say good party trick.
Oh, I mean, people went Google on social media, on YouTube and TikTok and all that for him. But 30 years old, guys, wow. I mean, some of you watching this.
That's sad. I'll be honest, I only ever saw like videos of him doing what he was doing, but I didn't really know much about him. I never watched his stuff. But I don't really watch these the kind of YouTube type influencer stuff. I'm strictly bodybuilding, But that's 30 years old. That's awful. I really feel for his family.
Yeah. So the younger people, and this is actually a little before our time. Lisa Lyon. She was one of the earliest pioneers of women's bodybuilding. She won the first international bodybuilding competition for women in 1979. She was also a subject of some very well-known photographers like Robert Mapplethorpe. She passed away at the age of 70. Lee Banks was an open bodybuilder before for 3 seasons. Then he switched to classic physique.
I forgot about that one.
He made top 10 at the 2017 Classic Physique Olympia.
Yeah, I remember seeing him at Columbus Airport once, because I remember one of the Arnold Classics, I think it was 2018 or something, and I thought he was absolutely robbed. He was not called out with the top guys, and I thought he looked absolutely incredible. Yeah. But that was sad. How did he die?
Cancer.
Oh,
yeah.
Gosh. Brutal.
I mean, it's cancer's scary. I mean, we have all lost people to cancer, and 1 out of 3 of us is going to deal with some form of cancer before we pass away. Very, very scary.
Yeah.
I didn't save this one for last, but to me, this was the most, along with Joe, the most tragic loss was Neil Curry, who you knew fairly well, New York Pro Champ in 2022. He had just switched, or was going to switch over to open bodybuilding from classic, because he had been struggling to make that weight. Took his own life at 34 years old. And to me, that's, if you get murdered or you get cancer, that's awful. But when someone takes their own life, they consciously decided, they were battling depression. God knows what these people are going through to get to that point where you just say, I can't take it anymore. I've got to go. I just can't be here anymore. So God rest his soul.
I love Neil. Neil was the one when after my recovered from my heart surgery, he was the one who came up to the studio, and that was the one that kind of got me back on track. And he was really good. He was bang on time. I think he was just, he was great. I like Neil.
Yeah. Last person was Ruth Silverman, who was one of the few women who covered the sport in the press pit. I sat with her many times. She was an editor. She was my editor at Iron Man magazine. She later became editor-in-chief of Flex magazine for a time. Brilliant writer, sharp wit. And it was, she was 77 years old, but this is a very male-dominated, especially in that era, the 90s, the 2000s. The press pit is almost entirely male. It's like a boys' locker room down there. And she held her own. She was brass, loud. Nobody pushed her around. And her commentary, she was, especially with the women's divisions. I used to sit next to her, and I was like struggling to find things to say about some of the people I was commenting on in the women's divisions. She helped me out a lot because she had a great eye for physiques, just like you and I. But with her, it extended to all the divisions where I falter quite a bit in things like bikini and figure. but she did not. But God, rest in peace, Ruth.
I was sat next to her at one of the Arnold Classics, and I said, "Oh, you're Ruth Silverman." She was lovely, really lovely lady. Yeah, it was about maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I think, maybe longer.
We had.
But,
she was called.
I remember her well.
Ruthless. Lonnie Teeper gave her the nickname Ruthless, and that's every time I would see her, that'd be the first thing I'd yell out. I'd go, "Ruthless!" He would yell back, "Iron Teen," because the very first column I had in Iron Man in 1992 was called Iron Teen. So here I am, like 40 years old, and she's still calling me Iron Teen.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, that was the year in bodybuilding, guys. Giles, we're all about to start a whole new year. It's going to be all new stories and all new. We're going to get new people. I assume this next Zilla is going to make even more of an impact. We didn't talk.
Oh, I put a video. I put the video of him winning the amateur. I put that on my Globe Muscle Instagram.
Oh, wow.
And it's had something like 37,000 likes, and it's fast approaching 1 million views.
Wow! So
I think it's on 920. It was last time I checked. It was 920 or 930, and it's going up still.
I'm going to check. I posted that picture with Budasheim and him backstage.
Yep.
From Prague. How far back are we going? So my pictures typically get about 30 to 200 likes on a good day. Mm-hmm. So the Rubiel, this one, in backstage, 93,912 likes. That's more than I typically would get for my picture, for sure.
Wow.
So we expect to be talking about him maybe in this type of story next year on one of our channels. So yeah, we're approaching the hour mark, and this was not a power hour. That was a great show we had. Mm-hmm. Maybe it'll come back in some form on one of our channels. Who knows? A lot of possibilities ahead for both of us in 2024.
Oh, yes.
New beginnings for sure. But definitely want to thank you, Giles, for helping me out on my new channel. I appreciate it so much. It's not a new channel. This channel's been around for 17 years. You know that? But I didn't do crap with it for like the last 10 years. That's
well, you were kind of busy there, mate, running about, 3 different bloody roles there with writing and producing content and collaborating with Dr. T and Jose and everybody else. So I think you're forgiven on that one. Fair
enough. So that's it, guys. Hope you enjoyed our breakdown of the top stories of 2023 in the bodybuilding world. Follow Giles on Instagram. It's at Giles Tiger.
Giles_Tiger.
Giles_Tiger. Because somebody else stole Giles Tiger probably. And demanded like $100,000 in ransom to give you that Instagram name. Yeah. So _Tiger. And when you have your YouTube channel up and running, we'll collab. I'll do some stuff for your channel for sure. Mm-hmm. Cool. And you never know where you're going to see us. Well, we're going to be popping up. I did desktop a couple weeks last week.
Oh, cool. How was that?
Great. Xavier's a cool kid. I call him a kid because he's like 32. That's a kid. Yeah. My daughter's almost 30. But it was a good time. If you asked, good time. I would go on if I were you. If you ask me to go on again, I'll definitely go on again. It's a good time.
Yeah. I'll go on if you want me to.
So that's it. Appreciate you guys all watching. Please subscribe to the channel. It doesn't cost you anything. Helps me out a bit. If you like the video, hit the thumbs up. Turn on notifications so you know when the new videos are dropping. And, of course, that's it. Appreciate you guys all so much, especially you, Giles. You're the best. Have an awesome rest, whatever remains of 2023. And here's to an excellent 2024 for all of us. Thanks for watching.